Welcome to another episode of the Theater Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Seals.
I'm your producer, Jillian Hockman. I almost said host again.
And I've got a bit of a cold, not a cold, a sinus infection, I guess.
We're great. We're a mess, but we're doing great.
It just, all that mucus goes straight down on my vocal cords. But, it's all about placement. Put it up here, sounds good. Down here, then I sound even better.
Okay. What are we talking about today? Who did we talk to?
This episode is with Ryann Redmond, who is the first hashtag Lady Olaf.
Lady Olaf in what?
In Frozen, the musical.
Frozen, the musical.
Yeah, she was incredible to talk to. I really enjoy... side note, I really enjoy what Disney is doing with the gender swapping of this role and allowing, there's no reason why Olaf can't be played by a woman. They
didn't even rewrite the audition material to be for a woman. It was just anyone can come. She said that both men and women were auditioning and they gave it to her.
No. She said she was the only woman.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, that's what she said. I think so. She said she was the only woman that she was aware of, I think, that was called in. But they didn't rewrite the song into a key for her voice, for a female voice, until after she had gotten cast. And so, she went in and they actually were like, how about this one? No, let's take it down. How about this one? Okay, let's try it. So they actually rewrote it specifically for her after she got cast, which speaks to one of the points I want to make is that she mentioned that she got a couple of almost all of her Broadway shows from the same casting director. And again, that just speaks to this business is about who you know.
Yep, networking is important, getting to know people, putting your face out there, saying hi, going to events. It's more than just being a talented performer. It's about being a part of the community. Mm-hmm. And that can kind of make or break your career a lot of the times. But
right.
More often make it than not.
Yeah, so that same casting director called her up and said, hey, I want you to come in for Olaf. And she said, I think you've got the wrong person.
Yeah, and Ryan's really great at knowing the importance of being present and showing up both physically and mentally and saying yes to opportunities and just going for it and being there and saying, yeah, let's do it.
That was something that actually did surprise me when she said it. And when we asked her, she said, what was something, and part of the closing questions, what's something you would tell your younger self and others? And she said, be present and show up. And I thought that she meant figuratively, don't show up to an audition and just kind of half-ass it. And she said, no, physically, some people just don't even show up. And this kind of harkens back a little bit to last episode with Joe Carroll, because something he had said was that if he's afraid to try. And so we were talking about if you don't try, then you don't fail. And so it's just a common thread here, I think, that it's kind of carried through this industry, that I think a lot of people are just afraid to show up.
Well, it's also a matter of if you don't show up one place, they're going to know the next place. People talk to each other. You'll get a reputation. So have a good reputation and not a bad one.
Right.
Be there.
Be there and be here all the way till the end of this episode. Everyone, please enjoy this episode with Ryann Redmond.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Originally from Atlanta, Georgia, she made her Broadway debut in 2012 in Bring It On the Musical before appearing in If Then, followed by Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville. She was recently featured in the world premiere of Ming Pfeiffer's Usual Girls at Roundabout Theater Company in New York and is now playing Olaf in Disney's Frozen the Musical on Broadway as of February 19th. Ryann Redmond, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I want to start where we start with most of our guests here on the podcast. I want to start at the very beginning. Tell me where you grew up.
It's a very nice place to start.
Yes.
I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta proper?
Not Atlanta proper. I knew you were going to ask that. I'm actually from Cumming, Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me geographically where that is.
It's about an hour northeast of Atlanta proper.
Okay. Yeah. So that's like my hometown. They're like, where are you from? I say Wilkesboro, and nobody knows where it is, but I'll say Raleigh, but really a couple hours west. Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, Cumming, Georgia, the place to be.
And you, tell me about your childhood, though. I read that you are one of six or one of seven. You have six siblings.
I'm actually, it's complicated. I'm actually one of 8. But
surprised face.
yeah, I know. I've got an older brother who is my only biological brother. Got 2 half brothers. I have 2 step brothers and 2 step sisters.
Okay.
So do the math yourself. No, just kidding.
That's 8. That's 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, right? That's 8. It's a lot. It's a lot for me to keep track of.
Well, so then in Cumming, Georgia, what was the arts and theater scene like?
Well, actually, when in my younger years, I actually played very competitive softball. And I did that for about 10 years. And I traveled all over the place playing. And we moved to a new school in a new school district my 8th grade year. And I wish I could remember how, but I just got the idea. I was like, I want to try out for the musical. No idea. I was fearless, and I don't know. It's so funny to me to think back now that as a 13-year-old awkward girl, I was like, oh yeah, let me try this thing that I've never done before, and it's like on a stage in front of people. But they were doing Annie. And I basically just listened to Andrea McArdle over and over again, tried to copy her voice. And I was like, I got this in the bag. I went in and sang Maybe. And then the next day, the cast list came out and I was Mr. Bundles. I got cast as Mr. Bundles, the laundry man. And I had 3 lines. It was devastating because I thought for sure that I was going to be Annie.
It's your first taste of rejection?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Just setting me up for the life of the theater. But I milked those 3 lines for all that they were worth. And then I went to a high school that I had really wonderful theater directors. And I just sort of dove into it. And Miss Denny, who was my freshman theater director, we were doing a production of Cinderella, and I remember her telling me, everybody look at Ryann, watch what she's doing. I must have been doing something outrageous and bold, making a bold choice, I imagine. And that was the first moment where I was like, okay, I'm being noticed. This makes me happy to make other people laugh. And that was the moment that I was like, oh, this is gonna be really, really fun for the rest of my life. And softball's not gonna last for the rest of my life. So I pursued it, and we did so many musicals in high school, and I joined up with this foundation that's super near and dear to my heart, which is called the Broadway Dreams Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at their inaugural intensive in Atlanta, which started in Atlanta, and I grew up with that program. And this woman, Kate Guyton, was one of the teachers, and she had gone to NYU, and I just saw myself in her. I was like, I want to be like she is. She's actually who Kate Monster in Avenue Q was written after. She was modeled after this woman, Kate Guyton.
Really?
And yeah, and she was just such a beautiful soul. She taught at NYU, and I just got it in my mind that I was going to go to NYU. I was like, that's where I want to go. I'd never been to New York, ever. But I was like, that's where I got to go. And so I studied with Broadway Dreams. I did a lot of musicals in high school and caught the bug. And then it came time to audition for NYU. And my family's not rich by any means. So my poor mother was like, honey, we're not going to be able to afford NYU. And I would just cry and cry and cry. And all I wanted to do was go. That's all I wanted to do. And I'm sure now looking back on it, she was just probably so heartbroken because it's so expensive. And I was so upset. And finally she let me apply, and she was like, you can apply, but we can't make any promises. So I end up getting in, and then I just begged and begged and begged for us to go visit. And we scrounged things together, and I got to go up and visit. And I got to the visitors weekend or whatever it was called. And part of that program, I guess, or the welcome is you go into the financial aid office and just like speaking to somebody to see what you got. And it turned out that I got almost a full ride to NYU, except for housing. And I was just like crying and
Wow.
on the Lower East Side. And because I don't know why at that point we didn't know
Yeah, that seems
what
weird.
financial aid. Maybe we were just naive to the process and it didn't look. And it's like it was like a whole like online portal. Maybe I don't know. But it was like out of a movie. Like we were like running out of the bursar's office. Like, and I got a lot of money towards my tuition, and that was that. My mom was like, "You were a kid in a candy store when we got there." I knew that was goodbye.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are they still down in Atlanta?
Yeah, they are.
Or coming Georgia?
Coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all still there.
That's incredible. It seems weird to me that you didn't know what financial aid you got.
I know,
thought that
right?
would be part of the process. It's been so long since I've applied to college. I'm
I
trying
know,
to
me
think
too.
back about when I did it because I got some financial aid too, and
Right.
I can't remember. Oh well, it's irrelevant. But I guess what did you do to prepare for your audition? You kind of glossed over that in the story.
Oh, for my audition for NYU?
Yeah, you're just like I auditioned, I got in.
Well, I had oh gosh, I can't speak. I had a monologue coach because you had to have 2 monologues.
Mm-hmm.
So Diane Sleek, I love her. I probably had a few voice lessons. I never really took a ton of voice lessons in high school. I was just loud and was like yelling everywhere. So I didn't really take many voice lessons. I probably should have taken more. But yeah, I think I auditioned we had to fly. It wasn't New York. I think I auditioned in California. It's one of those like unified situations. But my uncle lives out in LA and has always been super supportive. And he got me out there and I auditioned there, took me to the audition. Yeah, so I don't know. I probably should have done a lot more preparation. I think I remember my song selections were Gimme Gimme from Thoroughly Modern Millie, LOL, and Days of Plenty from Little Women. I don't know if you're familiar with Marmee in that show, but she's like 65-year-old woman, I'm pretty sure. But I won my like sophomore, like we had this thing called Thespian Conference and we did a 1-act production of Little Women and I played Marmee. So I was like, obviously I'm going to sing Days of Plenty for my college audition. And it's so low. It's like, I want you days of plenty. Like a 17-year-old girl had no business singing that song. But somehow somebody saw past that.
Wow.
At NYU.
Well, that's incredible. So you didn't prepare much.
No.
Sang completely age-inappropriate songs.
Yep.
Still got in. Then now you're at NYU. And was it easy for you to kind of fall in, or was it like sort of culture shock to, be in New York and be part of this like very high-profile school?
No, I mean, I got there and again, like I was so fearless as a child. I like to think I have some of that now still, but as you get older, you're like, dang, I wish I just had like threw all shits to the wind and like still had that, that verve. But yeah, I got there and I just, like my mom said, I was a kid in a candy store. I started to thrive. I became a tour guide because that paid for some of my housing. And then I became an RA. I just really like dove into every single thing about NYU. And I had an absolute blast. I really did. And I kind of did everything. And that really was such a great stepping stone to living in New York. I teach a lot of college age or, preparing for college age kids now. And I can't imagine going to school somewhere that's not in New York and then coming to New York after, you've just done 4 years of musical theater school or whatever you're doing. But then just coming to New York and being thrust into this crazy city. And yeah, it was a really good stepping stone being in New York. And because I was at NYU and in New York is the reason that I booked Bring It On and during my school year, during my time at NYU and
Oh.
left.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, which we will, I just want to ask, what did you give tours of? The school, or did you like New York tours?
No, of NYU. I
Oh.
gave tours to prospective students.
Oh.
Yeah,
What's a fact that I don't know?
Oh my gosh. NYU's football team is undefeated
Ever?
because they don't have one.
Oh, I should not know that. I'm not a football. I don't do the pigskins.
I know, me
Yeah.
either. Also, they're Division 3, I think, in every sport except for fencing. They're Division 1.
Whoa.
I don't know if that's still accurate, but that was 10 years ago. No, yeah, 10 years.
They should do competitive monologuing.
Oh God.
See, I don't know.
That sounds terrible.
I know it sounds horrible, but like a competitive monologue where you have to make up a monologue on the spot, or it's like an extension of the debate team, but you have to.
I'm sure there is something like that.
You should
at
pitch
NYU.
that. You should
Okay.
go back to the Ryan Redmond monologuing
Right.
inspired wing of Tish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so bring it on. Let's see. So you made your Broadway debut in that, but
Mhm.
before that, you originated the role of Bridget in the reading, the workshop, the world premiere, the national tour, and then the Broadway production.
Yeah.
So when was the reading? When did that start?
So the foundation that I love, Broadway Dreams, was doing their first New York showcase, which is essentially they take the best students from the cities that they taught in all summer, and they bring everybody to New York to put on a showcase for agents and casting directors.
Mhm.
And I was singing at that at that concert in, I think it was, I want to say it was November of 2010, and Bernie Telsey was at that concert, and I was singing "Somebody to Love" by Queen, and he was there, and he was like, "This girl needs to come in for this new show," and that new show was Bring It On. I went in the next day, for like that entire creative team, which thank God I didn't know who they were, because I would have pooped my pants. It was Lin-Manuel, it was
Mhm.
Jeff Whitty, it was Andy Blankenbuehler, it was Amanda Green, it was Alex Lacamoire, all just geniuses. But I went in there and sang. They asked for an R&B song, and I went and sang the beginning of going along my trajectory of singing incorrect things for things. I sang the beginning of Skid Row from Little Shop of Horrors. Like, our love goes off at 7 and you start up like it. No, you should never sing that for an audition A, because it doesn't have an ending. It just goes into then you go downtown. Like there's no ending. Like you can't resolve it.
Right.
It's so silly. It's so silly. And but clearly they saw past that. And I booked the reading, which happened to fall in my holiday break from NYU.
Mhm.
So it was after my first semester of my junior year, and I did it in the break, and then I had to go back to school after that. And I was like, I don't want to go back to school. I want to do Broadway. But then Rachel Hoffman, who cast the show and who is a dear friend now, and she cast Frozen. She's actually cast 3 out of 4 of my Broadway shows. So we can say that we love her.
Yes.
We love her so much. She called and was like, you're going to need to leave school. Not saying, but saying, because, she knew the trajectory,
Yeah.
and it was such a good team, and she knew it was going to continue on and do a production at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, which was so cool. I was like, of course, my first professional job is back to Atlanta. But it was so cool to do that in my hometown. Pretty much anybody I ever knew got to see me play that part. And then we did a national tour before we went to Broadway for 9 months, which was so cool. I was like 21 on a national tour with all like 30 of my other closest 20-year-old friends. We just were debaucherous and had the best time. We went to really cool cities. It was only 13 cities. So it was like San Francisco and LA and Chicago
Yeah.
and just like all the really good ones.
That's not usual though, to do out of town tryout and then a tour and then Broadway.
Yeah.
Why did they do the tour before Broadway?
You know, it is kind of unusual. It's happening more, and now like Margaritaville, we did a pre-Broadway tour, is what they called it. It was short, but it was 2 months long. I think it's just a good way to garner a following before you get to Broadway. The show was geared a lot towards a younger demographic, and I think Kristen Kasky and Mike Isaacson, who were some of the producers, who I love so much, I think they wanted to just sort of garner this, this base throughout the U.S. Before we got to Broadway.
You said the reading was in 2010, right?
Yes.
So that's 2 years from reading to Broadway in August 2012.
Yeah.
That is not long. Stories of shows coming to Broadway take like 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I mean, I think it was quick because the team was so stacked. They knew that the product was going to be good, and they just kind of fast tracked it. It was so exciting. Like the cheerleading on the stage was so impressive. So I think they were just like, we know it works. It's got Lin-Manuel raps and hip hop and Tom Kit soaring ballads, and it was a recipe for success.
Love me some Tom Kit.
Me
Yeah.
too.
And then after that, you were performing alongside Idina Menzel and Anthony Rapp and LaChanze in the original cast of If Then.
Yeah.
And that was down in DC?
We started in DC, yeah.
And so how long between DC and New York for that?
We were in DC, I think it was like 4 months prior to us starting.
So not very long. So that was the standard out of town
I might
tryout.
be lying to you. I should probably look that up.
It's okay. This is the internet. Don't believe anything you heard. On the
Okay, yeah.
internet. Yeah.
Look it up on Wikipedia.
That's right. Which has your age wrong.
Which has my incorrect age.
That's
Everyone.
right. Do you want to set the record straight here?
I'm 29 years old, born in 1989.
Wikipedia.
I'm sorry that I'm so mad about it.
Well, you said it keeps getting changed
It
back.
does. Someone keeps changing it.
It's some evil person who's like, I'm going to make her 2 years older.
Yeah.
That's so
Sabotage.
weird. It's so weird. Like once you're around
Not
30.
that there's anything wrong with being 31, but
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I like to get there.
I'm well beyond 30. 8 years beyond.
But yeah, there wasn't that much time between DC and the Broadway.
The Broadway. Do you prefer the out of town tryouts? Like, is it a nice break from leave New York for a little bit? Like, I personally I'm kind of like, all right, New York, I'm kind of done with you for like a month.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see what a different audience, how a different audience receives the show, and it's kind of nice to figure out all the kinks and stuff before you get to the harsh criticism of New York City. But yeah, it's fun to...
All the critics are British.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of the critics are British in New York. But it's nice to, test out the waters elsewhere, and it's fun to be in a different city with all your friends.
And all your expenses paid to be debaucherous.
Exactly.
That's right. That's all
I do love DC, though.
That's
It's
not
fun.
true at all. It's very serious, actually, the out-of-town tryouts. I've heard of, shows kind of get completely reworked, between
Oh, yeah.
between the out-of-town tryouts and coming
Yeah.
here, and the sets change. And even coming from London to here, I think one of the biggest examples I know of was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Because they dropped entire sets
Mm-hmm.
and didn't bring them over. It was like almost a different show. But,
Yeah. Frozen's the only show that I didn't start from the very beginning out of all my entire career.
Well, we will get to Frozen. In between If Then and Frozen
Yes.
is Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville.
It sure is.
So you were from the beginning with that too?
Yeah, I did. Actually, no, I'm lying. I did a workshop, and then we did the pre-Broadway try. I did not do the La Jolla production, but I did the pre-Broadway run, and then on Broadway. And by me not starting, or by me saying that I developed them, I'm saying my other shows, I've opened them
Yes.
on the Broadway.
Yes.
But If Then and Bring It On started from the readings.
So I saw the final preview of Margaritaville when Jimmy Buffett came out and surprised everyone playing in Curtain Call. Was it different for you working with someone like a pop star, a pop artist? Like, would you call Jimmy Buffett pop? What do you call Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah, well, I guess you call him a pop star. He's popular.
Pop. Okay, so Jimmy Buffett, the pop star, versus like Anthony Rapp, Idina Menzel, Lin-Manuel. Like those are not. Well, Lin is pop, and Idina's got a pop album now. But you see the difference.
Yeah, totally. It was amazing. He is the nicest person in the entire world. The nicest, richest person in the entire world. But he was throughout our entire developmental process. He was there very frequently, and you could just tell how much he loves his fans so much and how much they love him. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen is a parrot head audience.
Yeah.
They're so loyal and they just love him so much and they love his music. They know every single word. Oftentimes we could have just given it over to the audience in the show because they knew every single word.
Oh yeah, people around me were singing everything. Yeah.
It was crazy, but he's so kind and was it was super generous throughout the entire process. And it's nice to see people in that light, people who you think are up on this humongous pedestal. And he was just so happy to have his musical being produced and performed.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up loving Broadway, and his mom loved it so much, and it just was such a full circle moment for him, and that came through in every interaction we ever had. And he's a cool guy.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's very fun. And then I guess on the downside, it was admittedly a short run.
It sure was.
How does a cast? Actually, I don't even think I know specifically, but for those who don't know, how does a cast receive news of closing?
It depends. In this case, our producers called a meeting before one of our performances in I think it was early June, either early June or the end of May for a July 1st closing, and they gather everybody in the theater, and you kind of know because the crew is called, the dressers are called, the house staff is called, and it was kind of like, oh gosh. And we could see the houses dwindling each day, and we kind of saw it coming, but they were always very transparent about, we had like a few weeks prior, we had a meeting with them, and they said that they would check in always, and that they were doing everything they could to push it. But it was quite sad because a lot of people thought it was going to last a lot longer than it did, and Jimmy thought it was going to last a lot longer than it did. But speaking of critics, I think somebody poisoned the water hole and someone didn't want to like it, and people just started forming their opinions based on what other people said without even seeing the show, because people came in with goggles on and it was like judging apples and peppers, I think. And like, we weren't claiming to be this deep Shakespearean drama, you know what I mean? Like, it was just happy-go-lucky. People had so much fun doing it. People had so much fun watching it. And that's all it was meant to be. It was meant to be the Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, which is laid back, chill, and just happy-go-lucky. And that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the New York audience, it didn't quite grasp that. I don't know what it was, but we definitely didn't think it was only going to last 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
It was shocking.
Yeah. I was actually surprised to see it close that early too, because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot when I saw it, and it knew what it was
Exactly.
And yeah, it's like you said. It was very laid back. It was kind of like, we're a Jimmy Buffett musical.
Yeah.
This is
I mean,
fun.
our writers, Mike O'Malley and Greg Garcia, are some of the funniest guys that I know. Like, it was catchy and obviously with Jimmy's music, and it was super irreverent and, making fun of itself at times. And like, I feel like that's such a fun part of our musical theater psyche is that like you can have that, and then you can also have Dear Evan Hansen, and you can also have the band's visit, and you can also have Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Room for everything.
Well, I love it when stuff makes fun of itself.
Right.
That's
There's
breaking
nothing better.
It's breaking the fourth wall in a way that
Yeah.
just makes me want to keep coming back.
Exactly.
But, so then that closed. Moved on to Frozen.
Yeah.
Your Olaf,
I'm Olaf.
which is traditionally played by a man,
Sure is.
and this is a gender switch. It's very incredible.
Yeah.
So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
being the first woman ever to play this iconic role.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gosh, how does it feel? How does it feel for you? Like when you first got the call, just to come in and audition, what was that? What was that like?
I thought my agent sent me the wrong appointment first. And I called them. I was like, Jed, I think you gave me the wrong appointment. And then I thought I was being punked. I was like, this can't be real. Because my breakdown still said baritone. It still said he. It had the song in the male key. So I was like, this must be a mistake. Must be. My agent was like, no, I wish I could say that we pushed you for this too, but they asked for you. I don't really know. I have to find out who asked for me, but I'll have to thank them later. Someone did. And yeah, I went in and primarily my first 2 rounds were with Adrian Sarpel, who's the associate director, who's lovely and super smart. And he helped me through the entire process and each step, because it was a lot of steps, because I'm sure a lot of people had to sign off on this immense change. And I'm so glad that they did. I never thought in a million years it was going to happen. I was like, okay, there's going to be somebody that's like, okay, maybe we're not ready for a female Olaf yet, for whatever reason. And that was not the case. I am the lady version of Olaf.
Do you know if they were auditioning only women as a replacement, or if they were auditioning men?
No,
and
there was
women?
always other boys in the audition with me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
They might have auditioned other women, but I never saw any other women.
Huh. Wow, that speaks a lot
I
too.
mean,
Whoever
who
asked
knows?
for you, whoever asked for Ryann, please let us know.
Yes.
Feedback at thetheaterpodcast.com. We'll let you know.
Name yourself.
So then when you got it, like where were you when you got the call? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was doing Usual Girls at the Roundabout, and it was a 2-show day, and I had been in that morning for my final callback, which seemed like it had 45 people in the room. It was like all of Disney Theatrical, all of the writers, all of the every creative team, probably a lot of assistants, I would imagine, cast it. I've never been in a larger room. And I had gone in that morning and basically just, presented my audition to everybody who hadn't seen it yet. And
was it with the Olaf puppet, or were you just singing? Doing...
I did it first without the puppet because the rehearsal puppet is built. It was built around Greg, and it's not as nice as the show puppet, just because they figured out along the way what was ergonomically correct, and so they knew going in that I wasn't going to succeed with that puppet just because my body wasn't made for it. My body wasn't made for it. It wasn't made for my body is what I meant to say. My body wasn't made for it. So I did the scene before In Summer into the song In Summer without the puppet. And then they put me into the puppet, and Tom Schumacher had me just play around and take some direction. And he was like, pretend like you see something to the right, and then pretend like you see something to the left, and get scared of it. Get scared of something. He was just seeing if I could take all these directions, and I did it. And then he was like, okay, do it one more time, and just, throw caution to the wind. It's okay. You're not going to break. I think I was being a little tentative with him because it's this large apparatus, and I didn't want to break it. And I did it one more time, and his head fell off of my hand onto the floor. And then Tom was like, see, you were fearless. And I think that's what he wanted to see. And I was like, yeah, literally flew off, carrot to the ground, carrot nose to the ground. And I was like, cool. Great job, Ryann. Great
broke the
job.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
And then I got the call between shows that day, a few hours later. And it was crazy. I was screaming, crying down 8th Avenue.
Really?
People were like, what is happening with that girl? I was calling my mom because she obviously was part of the whole process
Yep.
each way, and
Yep.
just so thrilled. We've loved Frozen from the moment it came out because I was when we were doing If Then, Idina, it was like right at the start of when the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in DC, she rented out a movie theater for us to all go see it and watch her. So from the beginning of the movie coming out, my family's just loved it. And I've got a niece that loves Olaf, and we've loved it too because we sort of went through that journey with Idina.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing.
Oh, that's
So
fun. Yeah, I didn't even think about
full
that.
circle.
If Then was you were with Idina when the popularity just
Yeah, it just
exploded.
exploded.
That's incredible. Yeah, and it's made like what $1 bazillion now in the box office.
Yes.
It's been incredible.
That's an accurate number, a bazillion.
Bazillion. How did you make the role yours? Because you've got Greg Hildreth, right?
Yeah.
That you replaced, took over
Mhm.
from, and then you've got Josh Gad from the movie.
Yeah.
So and the song itself, like you said, was written in a male key.
Mhm.
So how did it become yours?
Well, Brian Yusufer, who is our music director, conductor, worked with me a lot just to figure out what key was comfortable for me and what would sit well in my voice. And it was trial and error. There was a super high one that we were like, okay, it's funny because it could be operatic. And then there's the one that I'm currently doing, which is super belty, and like I feel really confident when I've got this puppet on attached to me, and I can just really belt it out because I feel like that's truly his MO, Olaf. He just loves to be funny and loud, and I sort of just like how would you say I created, because I started without the puppet. I just feel like I had all of my predecessors in a little amalgamation, and I took from that what I wanted to, and I also just upon meeting the puppet, Lorenzo, who is our movement coordinator, spent a lot of time with me just talking, having conversations with people with the puppet and finding what his expressions meant to me and how he reacted to things. And it sort of just organically came out of that. And we had Michael Grandage, our director, is there today actually, and he had seen the show and was giving us notes, and he was just saying how lovely it is to see each of our new cast members' new take on the roles. And he said, it's so fun to see a show that you thought that you knew so much and see it in a not completely, but he's like, it's fun to see different moments that weren't there before. And I think that's such an homage to how good the show is, and an homage to the previous cast members who are also so wonderful in their own right. But yeah, it's been, and I'm still discovering what my Olaf is. And
Yeah, you're only a couple weeks in.
yeah, I'm only 3 weeks in. Give me a break. But yeah, I'm finding new moments each day, and the entire team has been super supportive of that. And it's never felt like I have to fall into a stereotype or I fall into something that somebody else did. It's been all supportive of me finding what my Olaf is.
And Josh Gad actually he reached out to you when you got the role, didn't he?
He did. He sent me a video when I did a interview on ABC, and he was congratulating me for the role and very supportive. And then he was like, and also Frozen 2 is in post-production, so don't come for my role, okay? And I was like, you know what? Watch out, Josh Gad. Lady Olaf's taken over. Cut him out of the movie. No.
You could be, oh man, they should, like, for Frozen 3, which I'm sure there will be because trilogies are the thing.
I hope so.
You could be like Olaf's long lost sister or
Yeah.
mother, because you like to play, the
Yeah.
inappropriately
Bring
older
back my
women.
Marmy days.
Yes, your mommy. Olaf, warm hug.
Yes.
What is your favorite part of the role that you found so far? Is there a moment that you have or a scene?
My favorite part of the role is, that's a good question. Obviously In Summer is so fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
I love the reaction of the audience when they see Olaf's summer dream come to life. It's so funny because I can hear it and they're all just like, when they see his beach
Mm-hmm.
setting come up. That's super fun to see. I love hearing people blurt out iconic lines from the movie. Sometimes that happens in the show.
Oh, you hear it from
Yeah.
the stage?
Yeah. I love that. What else do I love? I love. I don't know. I love figuring out each day something new and quirky about
Well, that's how it
Olaf.
should
He's
be.
got a lot of really fun one-liners.
Yeah. Well, you keep it. You got to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
You find that. But you said the audience is speaking, I guess, unintentionally or unconsciously to you during the performance. What has the actual feedback been? You've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, but has there been like any amazing feedback that you've heard at the stage door?
Yeah, I'd go to the stage door every night, and the response has been so lovely. So many girls and women saying to me that it's so freaking cool to them that a woman is playing this part, and everyone has been so kind about it. There's been just lots of love for Lady Olaf. But yeah, a lot of people are just, and a lot of people tell me their stories about, they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter what gender he is or what gender the person is playing with him.
Mhm.
Olaf is still a boy. But they're like, it doesn't matter. You think about how many of our favorite cartoon characters or cartoon characters are voiced by women, like Bart Simpson and Woody Woodpecker. And so I'm just giving my voice to him. But it's been super supportive at the stage door and fun for people to see that they don't have to be Anna or Elsa if they don't want to. They can also be Olaf. I got the sweetest message on Instagram. This woman said her daughter was doing Frozen and she wanted to be Olaf, but she can't be Olaf because he's a boy. And then the mom was like, well, I showed her your Instagram and now that's all that she wants to be. I'm like, well, that's the reason for the season, folks. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is so sweet.
Yeah.
I love that. So, well, good luck in everything. Break many legs. I want to come see you in the role. I haven't seen it since you joined the cast. So yeah, I'll let you know. And the other things that you're involved with, tell me about, you mentioned this earlier, the Broadway Dreams Foundation. What does that do?
Mm-hmm. It's a nonprofit organization that brings musical theater intensives all over the world. And I started as a student there and sort of grew up with the program. And now I go back and I'm on the faculty. And it's usually a week long in the summertime. And we have very serious musical theater students who actually want to pursue this. And half the week is classes, and the other half is preparing for a show at the end of the week where it culminates in them getting to perform alongside their Broadway faculty.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens now all over the world. Like I went to Russia with them and taught in Moscow. They go to Brazil, they go to New Zealand.
Wow.
Amongst all the other American cities that they go to. And it's a family that I've been with for almost 12 years. And the woman that runs it, Annette Tanner, is basically like my second mother. And it's really cool seeing the program grow and seeing the next generation of musical theater performers. It's really exciting.
How can people get involved?
Go to BroadwayDreams.com, mybroadwaydreams.com, and check out for in a city near you. I won't be at any of them this summer. Sorry. I'm being Lady Olaf. But I'll probably pop into the New York Intensive, which is happening in June, I believe.
Fun.
But yeah.
And we're also recently in the Loveville High podcast. Yes, podcasting.
Musical podcast.
A musical podcast.
Yes.
I was telling somebody at the end of last year, I said 2019 is the year for podcasts, hence, part of why I started this podcast, because it's the format people want to consume things in now.
Yeah.
And I, being in New York, being in the Broadway scene, I said, listen, someone's going to write an original show, a serialized show in podcast form with Broadway people. And literally a week and a half later, I got the press release from Loveville High. I was like,
you willed it into the universe.
Yes, I did. There we go. And now, David Zelnick, great man. I've interviewed a couple of people from the podcast.
Yeah, it was
already.
super fun.
Yeah.
Did it with J. Armstrong Johnson.
So you were in episode 3.
Yes.
And I guess, was that new for you to be in a VO booth, or do you like the Broadway in a booth versus Broadway on a stage?
I love being in a booth. I I've never done a voiceover, but it feels super right for me. So I hope it's in my future. I love just being able to figure out what you can convey with just your voice. It's so intriguing to me. But that was super fun. It was a short day. We kind of had to do it pretty quickly, just to knock out the recording. But it was fun to sing with Jay, and it's cool to not have to worry about what you look like. I live in musical theater land where you have to be on all the time, but not in a voiceover.
Nope.
Nobody cares. They just imagine.
They just press record and edit out the bad
Right
parts.
now, I am no, just kidding.
Well, we're sitting here in our underwear. I
Right.
really appreciate this. This is making me more comfortable.
Exactly.
And I was looking at the special skills on your resume.
Oh God.
Of course, basic cheerleading is on there for
I
obvious
need to
reasons.
change this. That is so old.
Well, can you still do ventriloquism?
I sure can.
Child inside mouth is listed. What does that mean?
Okay, I might have to back it up from the microphone.
Daddy, I'm stuck in the closet. I can't get out.
What? Wait, she just did all of that without opening her mouth.
Yeah, I feel like on a podcast, they're probably gonna be like, "What? She just what's happening?"
But your lips didn't open.
No, they
I
didn't.
guess that's kind of
Yeah,
incredible.
that's probably the only special skill that can stay on my resume. Everything else is like,
So burping on command.
oh, I can do that still.
Can you burp child inside mouth?
No, because a burp, your mouth needs to be open.
Well, you can come out your nose.
Okay, now you're getting outrageous.
Well, considering that we're probably listening to this with earphones in, I'm not going to ask you to burp on command.
Yeah.
And then what is extreme knowledge of IPA? Are you talking about beer?
No, but that's really funny. I never thought of it that way. IPA is the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if I'm given an accent that I need to do, I'm able to phonetically learn it through the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Maybe put a link on your resume to what IPA is, because I'm like, all right,
that's a
we'll
really
sit-
good idea.
We'll just sit here and talk beer for a second, but
But maybe now that I'm older, I can say that I do, or maybe I should get a better knowledge of IPA
maybe.
or take it off my resume, because I honestly don't know how good I am at it now. It was my college days.
Well,
We had voice and speech class.
probably come back.
Right.
Well, let's wrap up here. And before we wrap up, we always ask everybody on the podcast 3 standard questions. First one is, what motivates you?
What motivates me? Laughter.
Getting it or making it?
Both.
I guess it's the same thing. Would it be the same thing?
Getting laughter.
laughing. I meant you laughing or making others laugh.
Making others laugh primarily, but if you can make me laugh, great.
All right.
Also a plus.
Okay. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I would tell younger people or myself to always be kind. If you are wanting to pursue this business, everyone's always says it's about who you know, and that's accurate. And almost every job I've ever gotten is because I worked with somebody on the project prior, and I think that is a really good rule of thumb to live by. Why not be nice? It's really not that hard. And work begets work. And I think that's what I've really striven for in my entire career. And so far it's working.
Yeah.
So be nice, be kind, and show up to work. Always show up.
Do people not show up?
You'd be surprised. Not at Frozen.
Frozen. Yeah, Frozen's got the most punctual cast.
Everyone shows up at Frozen. No, people don't. And by show up, that's like a general, like, show up, be prepared. Know what you're doing.
Oh, you mean metaphorically?
Yeah, metaphorically. But actually showing up would be helpful too.
I was like, Idina just didn't show up for if then again.
No.
I guess, okay. Sorry, Idina.
No, she always showed up.
I'm sure she did, yeah. Well, the most successful people, they're present, they're in the moment. Yeah, I think that's what you mean. Yeah, just be there.
Just
When
show
you're
up.
there, be there. physically
for
and
life.
emotionally. Yeah. And then final question. If you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what show would you see?
Oh gosh. One show? That's so hard. I probably have to say The Color Purple.
Really? Why is that?
I love the music in that show so deeply. I think it's a beautiful show. It's either that or LOL Legally Blonde. I love Legally Blonde. I think it is so underrated. I love that show. I think it's hysterical.
Original cast with Orfeh?
Yeah.
Of course.
I love Orfeh.
Yeah. She's been on this podcast.
I love her.
She's wonderful. So we can find you on social, Twitter and Instagram at Ryann Reds. That's Ryan with 2 N's. And RyannRedmond.com. And your Facebook fan page. The fan page doesn't have a URL. Do you run the fan page or is that somebody else?
I think I run the fan page. Sometimes my mom does it.
Okay. All right.
What does it need? A URL?
Well, it's like Facebook.com/lots of random numbers. It doesn't have a custom.
How do you do that?
You just like click a button and say, give it a name, and give it a URL.
Oh, good to know. Learn something new.
Yeah. So we were looking for it.
No, go on my Instagram. You'll see everything you need to know on there.
All right. You can get more of me and the Theater Podcast at theater_podcast on Instagram and Twitter, facebook.com/official theater podcast. Listen and wherever you're listening, subscribe. Please rate, review, like, and share. Spread the word. It helps others find the podcast and helps others hear about amazing content like this interview with Ryann Redmond. We are produced by Jillian Hockman. Thank you to our friends Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music. Once again, Ryann, thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you.
This has been so fun.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.